Welcome to the Snazzy Sage podcast. I'm Dr. Kerry, your host and coach. Each week, I chat with remarkable guests who are thriving in their next chapter with confidence, purpose, and style. Because the next chapter isn't about age, it's all about attitude. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Bear Clarke Webb, known as Florida's funniest female and a powerhouse on stage. After more than 30 years as a public school teacher, Bear turned her real-life stories, sharp wit, and bold humor into a comedy career that has taken her across the country. She's opened for legends including Louis Anderson, Rosie O'Donnell, Bobcat, Bill Bellamy, Judy Gold, and more. And she recently wrapped her comedy special, It's Not a Mullet. Nothing is off limits, and everything is funny when Bear tells it. Please welcome to the podcast, Bear Clarke Webb.
Woo! Yay! Woo! The wave! Woo! Woo! My own special wave. Thanks for having me today. It's going to be a blast.
I'm so excited you're here. Bear, let's start with the basics. For those who may be meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Went to school in University of South Florida before the football team. That's how old I am. And then ended up in Orlando, taught school for 25 years there, moved down south to be with my wife. And I've been down here for about 16 to 18 years and teaching school and doing comedy.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about teaching school. What do you teach?
I started out as your basic homosexual physical education teacher, hence the hair. And I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school for about 20, 25 years. Moved down south, and now I teach nonverbal, autistic, medically fragile kids. I'm in the classroom teacher situation, and I love it. So
that's amazing. And you've been doing that for a long time, correct?
I've been teaching overall 39 years, and I've been in the classroom for about 8 to 10 years of that, and love it. Loving working with my nonverbal autistic kids. I change diapers, I do tube feeding, I do it all, and it sounds like I'm a good person. But no, I'm just trying to get into heaven. Let's be honest. I had a lot of long college. I got a lot of stuff to make up for, girl. So I'm just trying to get into heaven. But I love my kids. They saved my kids.
You're definitely an angel to each of them, and it's such a blessing for them to have you in their life as well. So what led you to get into stand-up comedy?
There was one day when I was teaching 7th grader, and I was standing in front of them, and I thought to myself, if I can keep their attention for the 40 minutes that I have them, standing in front of a group of drunk people will not be a problem for me. 7th graders will always be your toughest audience. So there was a point in my teaching career that I went, I need a side gig, because we all do as teachers. And if I can do this here, I can do that there. So that's what kind of pushed me into it. I've been doing comedy for about 25 years. So I started out like most people do, is you take a class, and I started with a wonderful lady named Vicki Rousman, who had a class, and then she kind of it was a progression. You start here, you go here, you go here, you go here, and without her guidance, I never would have been able to know how to write a joke or do a set. So all those comics out there that teach comedy, and the improvs and the funny bones and everybody, all the open mics that let us get up and practice. Mm-hmm. Those places are just as important as your main stage with over 4,000 people, because we've all started at the same spot. We all have a little bit of humbleness that we need to remember, and that's where we all started.
And getting up on stage and performing is such a scary experience, and you make it look easy. What are some of the topics that you like to talk about in your comedy sets?
My comedy comes a lot from just who I am personally and my life. That's the kind of comedy I think is funny. People who talk about themselves. And one thing I love about comedy is there's so many different genres of comedy: political comedy, physical comedy. And, my style is more just about myself. But, one of my favorite comics right now is Kathleen Madigan, because she talks about herself and her family.
Yes.
And that's my role. And I touch on everything from the way that I look to my hair to my lifestyle. Because when I come out on stage, the first thing you think is, well, that's a lesbian. There's no way around that. So I come out and I just, I've been referenced that I look like Sam Kinison or Ron White. So I pay a little homage to them in my set. I'll do a cigar and a drink. And for the Sam Kinison, I do a little screaming. I don't want to be them. I don't want to be them, but I want people to know that, this is kind of how I honor them in my way.
And where are some of the places that you perform?
I've been very blessed to perform pretty much all over the country. The one place that I went that I never thought was going to be a success, I went to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Mm.
and I did sets out there, and I thought for sure, "Really? Utah and this? It's gonna mesh well." And it worked, and the people were great. They were fantastic. It was one of the best sets that I've ever had. So I've worked there. I've done the Bonkers, the Funny Bones, the Improvs. I've performed out in Vegas and headline in Vegas. I got to meet some fantastic people out there. And so, I mean, overall, my comedy career has been a huge blessing. And comedy has got me through the hardest times of my life and the best times of my life. And I'm blessed, aware, and grateful for that. That's my favorite joy in life is to sit, on my patio out here and watch TV, and I'll look over and see my wife watching TV with the dogs, and that is my happy place is next to her. She has the dogs. We're outside of my favorite spot in the whole world, and that's my joy. Comedy's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of a side gig. I've been very blessed to be able to do what I do, but there has to be a balance. And she's taught me that. There has to be a balance in everything, your spiritual life, your physical life, your relationships, comedy, and that's the most important thing. So I can't let anything like work, anything touch my happy place. So that's my
Yeah.
joy. My
And
home base is her.
that's amazing, and that's such a balanced way. Have you heard of the Wheel of Life?
No.
I took a life coaching class and it breaks your life and as you were mentioning into like different pieces of a pie or spokes on a wheel. So your spiritual life, your relationships, your friendships, your financial life and looks at where are you spending most of your time. So at least for me on my wheel of life, I'm spending 80% of my life on work, maybe 10% on friends and then 10% on comedy, but it's not balanced. So it's a really fun exercise to look where are you spending your time. And I think we're on this hamster wheel constantly in life. And for me, that's why I love comedy because it takes my brain away
Mhm.
from work and the day to day and lets me forget about things.
Yeah.
But you bring up such an excellent point about finding that balance, finding your joy and your happiness, which I think is
Yeah.
especially is hard to do.
And she was one who helped me see that I was unbalanced for a long time. And now that we have this balance, life is so much better. Like I start my day every morning, 5 o'clock. I'm working out, and then I'm having my time with God. I read my passage, I say my prayers, and then on the way to school, I listen to something funny, to put me in a good
Mm.
mood.
Yep.
So that's how I start almost every single day. And so I'm in the right frame of mind to get through the rest of my day because I've had my peace to myself.
And
I've
that
had my physical, my spiritual, my relationship with God is one of the most important things, and a lot of people don't even realize that about me. But and I mean, no matter where I am, I will drive 4 or 5 hours in the morning just to get home on a Sunday to be with my wife because she makes a big brunch, and then we watch church together. That is the most important thing. It's that moment. So I don't care
and
where
I
I am. I'll get up 3 o'clock in the morning. If I'm up in Tallahassee, I'll drive just to be there.
That's amazing. And I find that morning ritual, what you're doing is you're feeding your spiritual life, your physical life, and your mental life as well, listening to comedy and putting yourself in a good mood and waking up early and whether that's reading a passion. I love to go to the beach and watch the sunrise. It is and
Mhm.
say some prayers or do some meditation. I listen to comedy constantly because it helps to lift me up in such a dark
Yeah.
world.
It does, and right now, I've always said that's the most important thing, comics. I mean, I've said it a million times. When someone screws up their life or something happens in our world, what's the first thing that we turn on? Saturday Night Live. We watch
Mm.
SNL, and that it brings us back to laughing again, and that's so important. We forgot as a country because 'cause we're so angry at each other. And I just got done of being angry and started to be grateful. I've just changed that in my life, and ever since I changed that in my life of being grateful, my life is more balanced.
You bring up such a good point about gratitude. Every morning, another routine that I do is what are 10 things that I'm grateful for? And they have to be 10
Yeah.
different things on a daily basis. And it just starts to set you in the right mood. I was at the Dollar Tree yesterday buying some things, and there was a gentleman behind me with this really big basket of all these little jewelry boxes. And I missed the "Don't Talk to Strangers" lecture in fourth grade. So I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing with all those boxes?" So he said he works with folks that are going through recovery and addiction, and they're making gratitude boxes. So they were just blank boxes and they were
Nice.
painting. And I thought that was such an amazing idea. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that would be a fun thing to do. I buy coloring books and crayons. To me, that's just another way to kind of relax and get the stress out.
Yeah. It's those little things that make that can change somebody. Like every comic, I sell things and I sell these hats. And there's two different types of hats. One says Bear Laughs, and the other one says the teacher's lounge with two martinis, right? So, yeah. And they're nice hats. My friend Steve makes them. He's fantastic. And I will give, I give one away, the Bear Laughs, to the guy that kind of picked on a little bit. And then I give the teacher's lounge hat to a teacher in the audience. And I had another comic ask me, "Well, you realize you're losing money when you do that. You're giving two hats away every show." And I said, "I know, but it's not about that. For me, it's not about the money." When my wife was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and then COVID happened, and I stopped comedy altogether for a while. And then we were at a restaurant, and she leaned over and said, "The world is an awful place. It's very angry right now. And I'm okay. And you're funny. And the world needs funny. So I would be selfish if I kept you home. So let's figure out how we can work this out and balance our life. And you go be funny." And that was it. I was like, okay, that's what it's about. It's about the unselfishness. It's about the gratitude. It's about making people laugh again. Other reasons to do comedy. I had a guy come up to me a couple years after 9/11. On 9/11, I did a show at the Improv. And he waited a long time, and I could tell he wanted to talk to me. And so I said, "Hey, buddy, what's up? How are you?" And he said, "I just wanted to thank you for making me laugh on a day that I never thought I would laugh again."
Mm.
He said, "I lost a lot of people on 9/11, and my buddies made me come tonight because they said you were funny, and they were right."
Oh, wow.
And those are the moments. People who
Mm.
go through that divorce that they're, struggling with, or lost a family member, and their friends made them come out just to get them to laugh, and you were that person that made them laugh. That is a gift from God to be able to do
Yes.
that, and
Yes.
we should never take that for granted.
Isn't
Never
it?
take that for granted. Be grateful on and off that stage. So I'm just very blessed that I got that people give me that opportunity.
I wanted to back out a little more broadly, and I wanted to ask, how do you view aging?
As a gift, because I see things and you read things in the news and you see so many people lose people young, and there's little things that remind me that I'm blessed, like I have these little wrinkles right here above my ears, these little tiny wrinkles, and every time I look at those, it reminds me of my dad and what a great guy he was, and I'm like, everyone's like, "Oh, you should do the Botox." No, no, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll smooth a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, I'll smooth, but there's lines on my face that remind me of my mom, and remind me of my dad. And I just think, I am blessed to get this far. I think if you look at it as a gift, and when people give you a gift, you're grateful for that gift. So I look at aging as a gift.
And part of the reason I started this podcast was to change the way people view aging. I think as we're young,
Mhm.
we're so fearful of it and it's terrible. But the past 20 years I've been in Florida, I've met so many amazing people at all different ages at doing terrific things. And I wanted to share that story with the world that once you hit a certain age, life is not over, it's just beginning. Because this is the Snazzy and Sage podcast, I wanted to ask you one of our signature questions. What is your go to style piece?
On stage, I call it like a lesbian preacher look. I
Mm.
have a high collar, I have a long black coat, and I have black pants. And the reason for that whole outfit is simply because that is mostly what Ron White would wear,
Mm.
and mostly what Sam Kinison would wear. So when I reference the Ron White and I reference the Sam Kinison, the whole look comes together. Everything else just around the house is what we call comfort clothes. I shorts and a t-shirt, but on
Yeah.
stage it's more dressy.
And I love that that's your brand. And, from all the promo shots that I've seen of you, it's your signature look. And I think you've done a great job with branding yourself.
Thank you.
If our audience wants to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
They can look me up on Instagram. It's Bear Clarke Webb or Bear Laughs. My Facebook is Bear Clarke Webb. And I have to say this because I tell everybody, when you friend request me, you're going to see my whole world. You're going to see what I post my shows, teaching. You're gonna see and hear everything. And the reason for that is when I invite you to my world, you're invited to my whole world.
Mm.
And if you're good with that, I don't post political, I don't post religious. But if you're good with seeing us partying and having some drinks and watching my three French bulldogs go crazy, and then a couple shows from now and then, we've always thought that Facebook should be something that brings a smile to somebody's face.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Thank you for having me. And I think what you're doing is just as important as what we do. You do it in a different way. You reach people through a different venue. Like this technology is really weird to me. And I'm just worried, is my hair too high right now? And I appreciate all that you do and that you do spotlight this because this is an important thing to get out there. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I hope that we get to get on stage together sometime.
Likewise. Well, Bear, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your wonderful stories, your humor. I know our listeners are going to love this conversation. So, again, thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Snazzy Sage. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Want to elevate your style and confidence? Visit snazzyandSage.com to explore individual and group coaching that helps you look and feel your best from the inside out. Until next time, stay snazzy.